Good morning and happy Moonday. It's Claudia of Moon Powered Astrology. And thanks to Debbie, our tech problems got solved. And, we're a little late on the live stream this morning. But, Mercury's dragging its wagon through the very last degrees of Taurus. It's due to change signs this week. And that's just one of the things that we have in store. So I'm going to do a very brief way of dropping into your heart and something you can use. But we always start that way, right? So put your feet on the floor. Or if you're in a lotus position, if you're one of the people who's flexible enough to do that, feel your sits bones either on the chair you're sitting on or the floor, palms up, ready to receive. Notice where the breath is in your body. Begin to be aware as you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take a beautiful, deep, delicious breath of prana all the way from below the soles of your feet up through your whole body, from the tips of your toes to your fingertips, to the top of your head. And as you exhale, white light pours down. The cells of your body are dancing, all trillions of them, dancing with this life force from source. And now on the next breath, you're feeling that white light, removing all negativity, removing anything that keeps you from being present here with me right now. On the next breath, inhale through your nose. And as you exhale through your mouth, touch your heart. And come right into that heart space. And as you do so, the white light blends with beautiful rosy quartz light, filling your heart with self-love. Fill it to overflowing all those four chambers, sending out those beautiful rays. Next breath, breathe in emerald light into that heart chakra, healing and opening you to be ready to love again, to love more, which is beautiful because Venus is going to be moving into the passionate sign of Leo this week. Breathe in and out of your heart, open your eyes, and come back to be with me. So if you're here on the live stream, please let me know, check in. I love it when you're here with me on the live stream. But also, there's replay on YouTube and Facebook, and so you can catch up with everything there. And, like me, share me, subscribe if you go to YouTube, trying to build those numbers up. And also lets me know that what I'm doing is of benefit to you, that it uplifts you, it helps you navigate these crazy, wild times as we are becoming galactic transhumans, transcendent, not transhumans, transcendent galactic humans. Yes. So how was yesterday for everybody? We had that incredible full moon on Saturday night at 8:41 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I hope you made the wish for what you want to manifest now, going on in the future, so you can combine that with your next new moon intentions in 2 weeks in Gemini. But this full moon was followed on Sunday by an exact uniting conjunction, as it's known, between Mercury and Uranus, the higher and lower octaves, as it's called, of communication. But it's really, Mercury's more earthly and lighter, and Uranus brings in those ahas, those brilliant moments like lightning from the heavens. So be sure to keep track of your light bulb moments in the wake of this full moon, because you will have many. And this full moon took you back to November, and November 23rd, right before the new year, new natural year of the solstice. And what was the adventure that you were committing to? What were the beliefs you were leaving behind? That's the thing. What new truths were you opening to? What new adventure are you opening to now? So these are some things to ask yourself. And if you have comments as we go along, if you have had an experience with light bulb moments, I know Maura Lawler, whom I'm so grateful for, she's a regular listener, and I was on Divine Fire Twin Flame Saturday for 2 hours. I do this once a month due to their generosity to allow me to share my message. And we talked about the power of words and sound, which is really important to remember in Gemini. Because in Gemini, the ideas flow so fast, it's Mercury ruled, and it just wants input, information. It's not often discerning about where it comes from. And we are being asked to be discerning, to really watch the sources that we trust and be open to really looking at whether they're aligned with our values and where we want to go now. So this week, it's going to be really important to work your magnetic mojo with Venus moving into Leo. Do your feelization and also be willing to take the actions, solid step by solid step, that are necessary. We're being asked now really to re-envision our plans and agendas that we had for 2023. We're almost to the solstice. That'll be, on the 21st. So the solstice is the full moon in the natural year. And at the solstice, we see what we've birthed out of what we set forth as far as our strategy, as our plan, as our vision, as our dream, and what we took bold action on as spring was born, and what we want to be able to either launch or birth or have come into manifestation at the time of the solstice. It's a time of celebration, celebrating all the wonderful deep work that you've done. And it has been deep work, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been a crazy wild ride, especially since March, when we had 5 planet shifting signs, and then the wild ride continued in April and May with eclipses. We're still in the umbrella of that energy, those sheaths of energy that open and bathe the earth with those messages to release the past, to be willing to dive deep, to be fearless and dive deep, and to move forward toward alignment with your true values, with how much you really need, with knowing that you're your greatest resource and you are always and always have been enough. So as we begin the week, let me see if there's anything else. So if whatever area of your chart 13 degrees of Sagittarius was in, and if you go to their shareware, if you just look up free astrology chart online, you will get a copy. You can put in your date, time of birth, and you can always put the sun on the ascendant if you don't know your birth time, but it's really good to have a copy of your birth certificate if that's possible, so you always know that very personal, unique information that's yours, your landing coordinates, so to speak. So wherever 13 degrees of Sagittarius was, you reached a culmination point regarding that adventure, those beliefs, your desire for expansion in your life. And your philosophy of life in your world. What is your world philosophy? And what philosophy do you espouse? Because Sagittarius also rules religion. So the shadow of what might prevent you from expansion, the beliefs that are getting in your way, that are no longer viable, were popped with this full moon. With Gemini reminding you that enlightenment is lightening up and that your thoughts create, your consciousness creates. Yesterday, with that conjunction between Mercury and Uranus, it underscored the eclipse that occurred in Taurus at 28 degrees, reminding you that you must do things differently. Be inventive. Be willing to share your unique brilliance, your genius, and take the journey to find out what that is if you're not sure of what that is. With this overlighting sun in Gemini, Mercury about to move into Gemini, yesterday was really good for sharing. And it continues. It continues through the first couple of days of this week strongly. So, like I said, keep track of those flashbulb moments. Keep track of the ahas that come up in your conversations. I'm finding that as I have conversations with other people, I ask Siri to take a note because there is brilliance flowing from a lot of different directions. And I also get to look at where I resist being open to somebody else's point of view or concept. So tolerance, releasing judgment, moving into discernment, which is it's a fine line, but judgment closes your heart. Discernment is more of a useful process where you discern according to your values and your gut what works, what doesn't, what's aligned, what's not. No harm, no foul, just might not be aligned with the frequency that you're creating, that you're putting forth as a creative juice in your life. So as we come to today, the moon is in Capricorn. Went in early this morning. That's such a beautiful way to begin the week because Capricorn is about plans, agendas, and strategy. And with the Sagittarius full moon, you were asked to take action, some action, a step to launch something. And that's really appropriate right now, even though it's not a new moon, for this gibbous phase. It's coming to an end on the solstice. The gibbous phase is where we polish our progress. We see where we're using our energy efficiently, where we're aligned with where we want to go, and where we might be a little off course, where we might be putting energy into things that aren't going to get us where we're going, or that don't serve as sacred self-care. Keeping in mind that our health and our sacred self-care is at the top of the list. It makes everything else flow. And so, I'm umming a lot, aren't I? With the Capricorn moon supports that re-envisioning of your plans and agendas. So be willing to incorporate those light bulb moments. The full moon phase continues until early Wednesday. So watching, this is such beautiful divine synchronicity with Mercury and Uranus and this full moon popping things and having these flashes of brilliance come. So keep track of them because they come like lightning. Uranus rules lightning, it rules electricity. If you're familiar with the symbol of Aquarius, you know it's these two little waves that look like electricity. So the ideas can come really quickly, the awarenesses, and it can also show you, as it has been me, where I need to dive deeper and unearth what's going on and be willing to have the discipline to move in a different direction, change some habits and patterns of thought and of action. So, again. So at 6:46 a.m., the moon moved into passionate, self-expressive Leo. Both Mars and Venus are now traveling in Leo. So how is the balance in your relationships? In your relationship with yourself, in your relationship with others? And 2 hours later, it opposed Pluto. Yep. Like right across the yard, right across is Pluto as Venus moves into Leo. And this brings up relationship issues, and it can bring up drama. And it also can bring up jealousy and suspicions. You know, where might you feel betrayal? And it's interesting because the South Node in Scorpio squares this energy. So it's reminding you that if there are issues where you perceive betrayal, what was that teaching you? Can you let it go? Can you just shine some forgiveness and surrender at those issues so that your energy isn't tied up in things of the past? Be good to yourself. That's a way to really be good to yourself. And the Capricorn moon is going to help you balance these intense emotions because Capricorn is not a fire sign, it's earth. So it's like, you know, and you can stand on the earth. You can literally allow those feelings that you're willing to release to just go down into the earth. Do another burning. If you didn't do a burning bowl ceremony, or if you did, you can always do a burning bowl ceremony. You know, write out these experiences, these feelings, burn them. It's a very good physical way to do it. You can also ask Archangel Michael to cut the cords to those energies. Don't need them anymore. Don't want to give them energy anymore. Want to forgive and release. Love without limits. You are creating your own love revolution. And one of the best ways to love yourself is to not give any energy to those things that hurt you. But clearing them is helpful too, to be willing. I'm willing to release and clear. I happily and thankfully release these things from my life so that I am clear. My path is clear and I can reclaim the energy for this new adventure. So as we move into Tuesday, we're going to have a nice harmonious angle to that lightning bolt Uranus that I mentioned. And this supports a willingness to experiment within reason, but to experiment and be inventive, as I'd mentioned. And the afternoon is good for mental focus. Strengthens your resolve to proceed with your plans. So that's really a nice support from the universe. With Venus opposite Pluto, power struggles in relationships may become apparent. Sagittarius asks the question, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? It's a good one, right? And Gemini, Sun in Gemini, the full moon in Sagittarius remind you how powerful the breath is. Gemini rules the inhalation, so mindful breathing is really up as far as recognizing that it's totally necessary for your vitality. And exhalation is Sagittarius. See what you do in life to compromise your breath. To live fully, you got to breathe fully. And of course, that begins with your health. So, clean air, letting as much oxygen into your lungs as possible. And also just figuratively, where you breathe in the energies, the intentions, and you exhale your progress. You exhale what you've created into the world, what you've created in your consciousness. Passion, romance, definitely highlighted. It's also asking you where you're going to step out and shine to attract pleasure, to attract romance, and what you need. One of the things you have to watch out for with this energy is having expectations. In Buddhism, they say that expectations are one of the roots of major discontent and dissatisfaction in life. And one of the downfalls of this Leo energy can be, I shine my light. I open my heart to you. I loved you and appreciated you, and I expect this back. But Leo energy naturally feels good when it shines and when it opens its heart and lets that energy go into the world. It's ruled by the sun. And when the sun shines on everything, it grows magnificently. And sometimes something takes a little time to grow, or that may not be its journey to grow due to you or with you. But it doesn't mean you stop shining. It doesn't mean that you then turn the light switch off. No, because that is your vitality. And it's also your gift to the world, the way you shine your light, the way you step up and step out. And you are, this opposition to the moon sends its energy early on Wednesday to transform and make progress now. Now. This is the thing we're being asked to really look at our resistances, to look at where we can take that idea, that seed that we are giving roots to, and make progress now. After all, solstice is in 2 weeks. Doesn't mean that your progress stops, but you may feel this whole month that things ought to be speeding up, but that they're slowing down. And so, slow and steady wins the race. And you are sending down deep roots, and you're also getting a better picture. The picture, especially with these things that have happened recently, these celestial events, the picture may still be forming, just like a painting where you do some brush strokes, then you walk away, you do some brush strokes, and then perhaps you realize that the picture is actually going to look very different from what you'd originally thought. Different colors. You can take that analogy wherever you want to go. So, watch out for drama, creating distance in your relationships. And Thursday, those distances that have come up in relationships can be discussed. So that's kind of nice. And by the way, on Wednesday at 4:05 a.m., the energy shifts big time because we move into the disseminating phase, and we wake up with the moon in Aquarius on Wednesday. So that's a shift in energy. And Aquarius is the visionary of the zodiac, the inventor. So that's really going to help you. Seeing who's checking in here. I'm on my phone, so it's really tiny. But thank you. I'm going to be getting another phone, plus my iPad needs to be worked on. So onward and upward with the technology. I'm hoping that as Mercury moves into Gemini, all of that gets worked out. Because, boy, this Mercury in Taurus has really had a field day with me. Even though I have tools and tricks, the trickster one-upped me all the time. So be willing to, if you do visioning, if you've written your vision for the year, if you've done a vision board, go back and take a look. Because this is a time of re-envisioning, making progress as you re-envision. Those conversations, those brilliant insights that are being shared have a lot to do with that. So, as I mentioned on Thursday, if there were differences that came up in your relationships earlier in the week, you can discuss those. Avoid or be aware of stubborn pride. This is a thing to just surrender. If you do work every day to get in touch with the vastness, the vast field of consciousness that is the truth of who you are, in which you have your being, it makes it a lot easier to surrender that small self ego pride and listen. This is one of the big things. Taurus has the ability to listen. But Gemini, not so much. Oftentimes, Gemini is more concerned with how it's going to reply or what it has to say, because it's overloaded with information at times. So be sure to take the Taurus ability to listen and slow down and ground, feel your feet into your conversations as you move forward, especially in your relationships. And also avoid being preachy, preaching at your partner or preaching in a relationship. That can be a big one, especially in the aftermath of the Sagittarius moon, because that's something that Sagittarius can end up doing. It's the professor of the zodiac, and so it kind of wants to teach everybody. Gemini is the learner of the zodiac. Listening is a big part of that. And also with Venus in Leo and Mars in Leo, be careful that you don't tell others what to do. Catch more flies with honey, right? And Leo is very charismatic. It's the sign of the charismatic leader. So when you face someone and you give them your full attention and you listen, it's so, so magnetic. Venus in Leo also has to do with pleasure, fun, humor. How can you cultivate more of that in your life? We all need to be laughing, keeping a sense of humor all the time these days as we see the cosmic game that's going on. And we get to decide which movie we're going to buy a ticket to. And if the movie that you've been in is not one that's aligned with your values or doesn't uplift you or drags you into the past continually, walk out of that theater. Be willing, fearlessly walk out of that theater. Friday's a gentler day, and that's due to the moon moving into Pisces at 3:14 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And all the times that I mentioned are Pacific Daylight Time. So the empathetic communication will be, will be more likely in Pisces, more tolerance, more and emotional control. Feeling like you're back in a wheelhouse where you can be sensitive to others' emotions and tolerant and not so bossy or fiery. Passion is good, but if it's directed properly, it's an amazing energy. But if it's just, like I said, passion to be right rather than happy, or power plays, that's the thing that can really occur with this opposition with Pluto as Venus moves into Leo. It's gonna retrograde next month. It'll retrograde. Venus will, and we have some other things joining the retrograde parade this week, later in the month, in June. So Saturday, opportunities for healing conversations abound because of a lovely aspect of Chiron. And perfect outcomes may not be possible, so don't look, for perfection in these healing conversations. Romanticizing things is one of the things that happens at times with the Pisces moon, the moon in Pisces, those rose-colored glasses, that syndrome. But progress can be made in these conversations, because oftentimes when you deal with Chiron, you're dealing with a deep wound, and the gifts, now the gifts can come up and spark your imagination and contribute in a positive way to the dreams that you're making real this year. Because as the moon moves through Pisces, it will unite with both Saturn and Neptune. So this reminds you, what are you going to build? How are you making your dreams real? And what are the limitations that you perceive? And that takes you back to the beliefs that were unearthed in the shadow side of this full moon. What are the beliefs that continue to keep you from making your dreams real? For knowing that, yes, I can. Yes, I am. I am, I do, I dare. I can, I will, I do, I dare. That's what it is. I can, I will, I do, I dare. On Saturday, we move into the last quarter phase. Now, the disseminating phase has reigned a lot of the week. And the disseminating phase, the full moon, is where you reflect. Something's culminating. You look back to 6 months ago. You look back to 2 weeks ago. And you see if your progress is shining under the full moon. What did that blooming rose of progress look like? Was it anemic? Was it beautiful? Were you kind to yourself regarding your progress as well? What adventures are popping that you now want to take that are aligned with this re-envisioning process you're going through. And as we move into the last quarter phase, you're going to review your current projects and you're going to take corrective action. And one of the ways that begins in the last quarter phase, as we take stock in the planting cycle, when you have the what you've created, the plant withering and returning back to the earth, back to the consciousness. That's what you're looking at. What is the consciousness that has created the results and the experiences that you've had during this cycle? What's the attitude that's needed? Maybe you need to tweak it, or maybe you need to really turn and with these light bulb moments, a whole new attitude. So that's what the last quarter phase allows you to do, to get a new attitude, to shift your consciousness, to be in alignment with where you're going on your grand adventure in this journey called life. Sunday is a busy day in the heavens, and the stage is set for change when you wake up, because Pluto retrogrades out of Aquarius back into Capricorn. Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008, and I'm sure you all remember what a big year that was. As the stock market crashed, the housing market crashed, we had all kinds of things happen. And, look at how your values, how your ideas, your plans have shifted since then. It really tapped us on the shoulder to take charge of our own lives and to look at where our real security comes from in our lives. So this is going to go on for 6.5 months. Pluto is going to retrograde into Capricorn, into the last 3 degrees, 29, 28, 27 degrees of Capricorn. Where is that in your chart? In December of last year, of 2022, it began to go over these degrees until it moved into Aquarius. So you get to look back. If you journal, and journaling is so revelatory, so important. It helps you live more deliberately, and you always have a way to look back at where your consciousness was and where you want it to be going forward, where you are now. If you'll look at that, you'll get a clue as to what you're being asked to review regarding your own self-empowerment. And we may see some global political disruption going on because Pluto is an outer planet. It really has to do with the collective shadow coming up so that we can move forward with a different perception, a different use of power. And that's what this journey of Pluto through Capricorn has really been about. It's the structures in our lives, the big structures, the big institutions, from medicine to government to religion, that have been built out of what? Our beliefs. Sagittarius, we look at what's true for us, what we place our belief in, and then those beliefs are the foundation for these institutions and for this paradigm of top-down power. We're shifting that. Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius for 20 years will demand that we shift that. And we're going to have Pluto back in Aquarius in January of 2024. And then we'll retrograde again, one last hurrah. And then it will move into Aquarius. At 2025, it will be in Aquarius for the next 19, 20 years. So we are in this deep review of what power means in the world and to us. And with all the things I mentioned before, in our relationships. What does it mean in our relationships? What does it mean regarding resources? What's the most powerful way we can use our resources, our earthly resources? Is it about ownership? A big word for Capricorn is status. It's very status and achievement oriented. Is status how many cars you have, how much money you have, how much you're able to exert control over your environment and others? What does status mean to you? It's a really good question to ask. Are you enough? Do you have enough? Do you see a world where everyone has enough? Where the playing field is leveled? Because that's what we're headed toward. So as we review, we can also release old ideas of status and look at what we're willing to be responsible for. So the ruler of Capricorn is in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces. So that reminds us that there's a dance of adjustment between our awareness, that we are spirit having a human experience, and our ability to be Imagineers, and the tight-fisted control that the current Plutonian power structures try to exert. It's going to be an interesting summer, folks, isn't it? Yeah. But the thing is, we're coming, all the visions that you've had, all the dreams, the communities you're forming, these are all really, really signs of how much progress you've made. Are you isolated? Do you live alone? Do you reach out? Our relationships are so, so important. And we're moving in a time of community, unity, as opposed to individual achievement. Getting to the mountain, top of the mountain, all by ourselves, which doesn't happen, right? Doesn't happen. Mercury's going to move into Gemini at 3:26 a.m. on Sunday. So you'll wake up with a lot of ideas. You may find that your need to absorb information is in high gear. So it activates the desire to give and share information. But check your sources, as I mentioned before. Make sure that your sources are aligned with what's true for you. You got a good hit on that at the full moon. And your values. Remember to discern and breathe. It's really good. With Mercury and Gemini, oftentimes we're breathing up here. We're, shoulder. We're chest breathers. And we're not involving our belly, which is the seat of abundance and creation. And we're not in our hearts. So if you can drop into your heart, just touch, drop, open, bring that to your communications. It's a really good thing to remember for the 15 days that Mercury is in Gemini. Mindful breathing period is a message. It's a message of Gemini. And 33 conscious breaths a day, as I've mentioned before, will change your life. So try that. Just try putting, making sure that your feet, that you're aware of your feet, that you feel grounded, and take a breath from there. Exhale and drop into your heart. Easy breezy. So powerful. In the afternoon on Sunday, the moon's in harmony with Venus, so that's really good for social activities, Sunday afternoon or evening, depending on the time zone that you're in. So Mercury is going to be in Gemini until the 28th of June. And then it will shift into Cancer. And that will feel very different because Cancer is all about feeling and Gemini is all about thinking, right? So we've had some shifts this week. It's a good week, but it's a deep week. Watch for those light bulb moments. Move your hips. That was something really good at the full moon because Sagittarius rules the hips. So move your hips and let your shoulders loosen up. Get your arms involved. Dance. That's a way to work with that mutable axis, Saturn and Pisces, and then that full moon aftermath of Gemini and Sagittarius. Work your creative, your magnetic mojo with Venus moving into Leo. Express yourself beautifully with love. Feelize every day. 17 seconds of really feeling, stepping into that picture you create and feeling each of your intentions and whatever you wish you said to manifest, that you want to manifest going forward at the full moon. 17 seconds of that feeling focus, being in that picture, walking into that visual, and you begin to manifest. 17 seconds. So spend 30, and in 2 to 3 minutes, you'll have your feelization done every day. And then play throughout the day with walking in that energy of abundance, that energy of love, that energy of that wonderful relationship coming into your life, that energy of bringing more romance to your current relationship, that energy of bringing more balance to your relationships, to your expression, to the way you step out and shine. So that's what I have for you today. I'll be looking at the comments later on after this. And if there's something that you particularly are dealing with, an aha that you have, please let me know that. I'd love to hear from you. And I just wish you an absolutely glorious week. The last couple of weeks of spring are what we're in. And we've just had an amazingly beautiful spring here in the desert. I'll be doing pop-ups when the phases change and just when I think of things, because I want to be in touch with you more than I have been. And of course, now, as always, I love you to the moon and way beyond. Have a beautiful, blessed week.